What if I told you that behind the familiar aisles of America's largest retailer lies a darker reality? One filled with unsettling encounters that most shoppers and employees never hear about. Tonight, we peel back the curtain on 3 chilling true stories from inside Walmart stores that reveal a world far removed from the fluorescent-lit normalcy we expect. These are not just tales of shoplifting or customer complaints, but disturbing experiences that have left witnesses questioning both their safety and their sanity. Our journey begins in the dead of night, away from the city's when the store is closed to the public. The house was a dream in many ways, remains, sprawling. Imagine the wide windows that caught the autumn light just right, of security and a porch swing that creaked softly echo of footsteps on but from the beginning, there was something. It is during these lonely hours intangible that a employee named Mark discovered the first sign that something was horribly wrong. Mark had worked at this Walmart in a small Midwestern town for over a year, familiar with every shelf and corner of the store. But on this particular night, as he made his usual rounds through the stockroom, he felt an unsettling chill crawl down his spine. The air grew heavier, and shadows seemed to stretch unnaturally long across the walls. Mark's flashlight flickered as he approached the back storage area, a place usually quiet except for the hum of machinery. Then, out of the darkness, a figure emerged, an indistinct shape, neither fully seen nor entirely understood. Mark's heart pounded as the figure remained motionless. Its presence felt rather than clearly defined. The encounter was brief, but its impact lingered, turning an ordinary shift into a nightmarish memory. When Mark reported the incident, management dismissed it as fatigue or imagination, leaving him isolated and uncertain whether what he saw was real or a trick of the mind. Across the country, in a bustling Walmart on the West Coast, another bizarre event unfolded, one that defied simple explanation. During a busy afternoon, a shopper named Lisa vanished without a trace. She had been browsing electronics, chatting on her phone, when suddenly she was gone. Surveillance footage showed her entering an aisle but never leaving it. Customers and staff searched the area frantically, but no sign of Lisa was found. It was as if the store itself swallowed her whole. This disappearance rattled employees and introduced a creeping fear that within the endless maze of shelves, something inexplicable could happen to anyone at any time. The eerie nature of Lisa's vanishing was compounded by the reactions of those around her. Rather than rallying together, some employees seemed hesitant to discuss the event, as if acknowledging it might invite more trouble. The silence only amplified the mystery, and rumors began to swirl. Had Lisa been the victim of foul play? Or was there something far stranger at work? The unanswered questions hung over the store like a shadow, a chilling reminder that even in the most mundane of places, reality can fracture in unsettling ways. Then there was the incident that forever changed the perception of one Walmart in the South. A seemingly ordinary customer, caught on camera, erupted into a violent outburst in the middle of the grocery aisles. What made this episode so disturbing wasn't just the suddenness of the attack, but the eerie calm that preceded it. Witnesses described the man as normal, polite, even cheerful, moments before his rage exploded without warning. The security footage captured every second, the man's eyes narrowing, his hands clenching, and then the chaos as he knocked over displays and shouted incomprehensible words. This violent episode left employees shaken, not only because of the physical danger, but due to the lack of support from management afterward. Instead of immediate intervention and counseling, staff were urged to move on quickly and avoid drawing attention. The message was clear: business as usual, no matter what darkness lurked in the customers or the aisles. This response deepened the fear and frustration among workers, who felt their well-being was secondary to maintaining a facade of normalcy for shoppers. As these stories begin to take shape, a pattern emerges. Each incident rooted in the everyday environment of Walmart, but tinged with a psychological weight that defies the ordinary. The store, a symbol of accessibility and community, becomes a stage for moments of profound unease. From shadowy figures lurking unseen to people disappearing without explanation and sudden bursts of violence that shatter the calm, these are not isolated events, but harbingers of an unsettling atmosphere that permeates the retail giant. What makes these tales even more disturbing is the silence that often follows. Employees who witness or experience such events find themselves caught between fear and obligation, pressured to keep quiet or dismiss their own feelings for the sake of the store's image. The corporate machine moves swiftly to contain any disruption, sometimes at the expense of those who live and work within these walls. This tension between what is seen and what is acknowledged creates an undercurrent of anxiety, a reminder that the ordinary can quickly slip into the uncanny. Tonight, we embark on a journey through these hidden corners of Walmart, shining a light on the strange and sometimes terrifying realities that lurk just beyond the checkout counter. These stories are not simply about retail horror. They reveal the fragile line between safety and danger, perception and reality. As you listen, consider the countless hours employees spend navigating this vast, impersonal space and the unseen challenges they face. Challenges that go far beyond stocking shelves or assisting customers. Stay with us as we explore the eerie encounters that have left marks on those who dared to confront the darkness behind the bright lights. These are the stories that make you rethink what you thought you knew about your local Walmart, reminding us all that beneath the surface of everyday life, shadows often move in the most unexpected places. The night had barely settled when Mark's flashlight flickered again, the beam slicing through the dense shadows of the stockroom. It was here, in this narrow, cluttered space between towering pallets and forgotten merchandise, that his nightmare truly began. The figure he'd glimpsed earlier was no longer just a shadow. It seemed to pulse with a presence, a dark silhouette that moved just beyond the edge of his vision. Every time Mark turned to face it directly, it vanished, only to reappear moments later in another corner, always watching, always just out of reach. The silence was thick, broken only by the distant thrum of machinery and Mark's own ragged breathing. As he edged further into the storage aisles, the temperature dropped noticeably, his breath now visible in the beam's glow. Then, a soft, almost imperceptible whisper echoed, too faint to understand, yet chilling enough to freeze his blood. The stockroom, once a place of routine and order, had transformed into a maze of dread and uncertainty. Mark's instincts screamed for him to flee, but curiosity and a mounting sense of responsibility anchored him in place. The figure seemed to be testing him, probing the limits of his courage. Elsewhere, in a Walmart humming with daytime activity, Lisa's disappearance unfolded with an eerie calm that belied the panic it would soon ignite. Footage from the store's security cameras showed her casually turning down an aisle filled with electronics, her phone pressed to her ear as she chatted. The camera angle shifted, and suddenly Lisa was gone. There was no footage of her leaving the aisle, no sign of struggle or distress. It was as if she had simply evaporated into thin air. Store employees scrambled to search every corner, checking restrooms, stock areas, even the parking lot, but Lisa was nowhere to be found. Customers whispered nervously, some speculating about a kidnapping, others dismissing it as miscommunication. Management, meanwhile, was quick to downplay the incident, framing it as a simple case of a lost customer who had wandered outside unnoticed. But the camera footage told a different story, one that left everyone unsettled. How could someone disappear in plain sight, surrounded by dozens of people? Adding to the mystery were reports from other shoppers who recalled seeing strange flickers of movement in the aisles, glimpses of a figure that appeared and vanished too quickly to be real. Some claimed the lights overhead dimmed momentarily, casting long, warped shadows that seemed to reach out like fingers. These unsettling sensations left the staff on edge, creating an atmosphere where the ordinary act of shopping felt tinged with invisible menace. Meanwhile, back in the South, the violent outburst captured on security footage revealed a chilling transformation. The man, initially calm and composed, suddenly stiffened, his eyes narrowing with a cold intensity. Without warning, he hurled a nearby display of canned goods to the floor, the crash echoing through the store like a gunshot. Shoppers froze, unsure whether to run or intervene. The man's voice rose into a guttural scream, laced with words that made little sense but carried undeniable fury. Employees rushed to call security, but by the time help arrived, the man had disappeared into the maze of aisles, leaving behind a trail of chaos and fear. The footage later showed him re-emerging near the exit, his expression vacant as if the rage had drained from him entirely. Witnesses described feeling an oppressive energy in the air, a heaviness that seemed to press down on everyone present. The store's usual bright, bustling environment had been replaced by something darker, something primal. What made this incident even more disturbing was the pattern it echoed, strange behavior erupting suddenly, as if triggered by unseen forces lurking within the store itself. Employees began sharing stories of other odd occurrences. Inexplicable sounds in the stockroom, lights flickering without cause, and glimpses of shadowy figures darting just beyond the edge of vision. Some reported feeling watched, their skin prickling with unease during late-night shifts. The boundary between reality and something else seemed to be fraying, and the store's vast, impersonal layout only amplified the sense of isolation. Security footage added to the growing unease. In one clip, a faint, almost translucent shape appeared to move through walls, vanishing and reappearing in impossible places. Another showed shelves shaking violently despite no one being near them. These anomalies defied logical explanation and left security personnel baffled. Attempts to pinpoint technical issues or environmental causes came up empty, fueling speculation that something supernatural or highly unusual was at play. For the employees, these strange events weren't just curiosities. They were intrusions into their daily lives that left them exhausted and fearful. Night shifts became exercises in endurance, as workers struggled to maintain composure amid the haunting atmosphere. Some began to question their own perceptions, wondering if stress and fatigue were distorting reality. Others confided in each other about experiences so bizarre that sharing them felt like admitting to madness. Yet, despite the growing psychological toll, a code of silence prevailed, reinforced by management's reluctance to acknowledge anything beyond routine store operations. This culture of denial only deepened the impact. Employees who spoke out about these encounters often found themselves dismissed or subtly pressured to keep quiet. The fear of being labeled troublemakers or jeopardizing their jobs created an invisible barrier, preventing open discussion and support. The psychological weight of these experiences accumulated quietly, becoming a hidden burden carried by those who navigated Walmart's labyrinthine aisles after dark. As the unsettling events unfolded, a shared narrative began to emerge, one that blurred the lines between human behavior and something far less comprehensible. The shadowy figure Mark faced, Lisa's inexplicable disappearance, and the violent customer outburst were not isolated incidents, but threads woven into a larger tapestry of unease. Each story echoed themes of invisibility, sudden transformation, and the fragile boundary between the known and the unknown. In the midst of this, the employees found themselves caught in a paradox. They were the guardians of a space designed for comfort and routine, yet they became witnesses to moments that shattered that very illusion. The store, a symbol of normalcy and community, revealed itself as a place where fear and confusion could flourish unchecked. And amid the endless rows of merchandise, the most terrifying element was the sense that no one was truly safe from what might lurk just beyond sight. Tonight, we continue to unravel these haunting stories, venturing deeper into the experiences that turned a place of commerce into a stage for psychological horror. These are not simply tales of strange occurrences, but glimpses into the human psyche when confronted with the inexplicable. As we follow the footsteps of those who lived through these moments, the line between reality and nightmare grows ever thinner, leaving us to wonder what shadows hide behind the everyday scenes we take for granted. After those chilling encounters, what followed was almost as unsettling as the events themselves. The way Walmart's corporate machinery responded, or, more often, failed to respond. The employees who found themselves face-to-face with darkness within the store were met not with empathy or support, but with silence, skepticism, and sometimes outright dismissal. Their fears and trauma were minimized, buried beneath layers of corporate policy and the imperative to keep the store running smoothly. Take Mark, for example. After his terrifying experience with the shadowy figure in the stockroom, he reported it to his immediate supervisor, expecting at least a serious inquiry or some form of reassurance. Instead, he was met with a strained smile and a terse explanation. Probably just stress or your imagination. We can't have employees scaring themselves. The message was clear: acknowledge nothing that might disrupt the store's image or operations. His supervisor warned him to keep the incident quiet, Mark soon realized that speaking up could make him a target for ridicule or worse, jeopardizing his job in a retail environment where turnover was already high. Then there was the aftermath of Lisa's disappearance, which left the store's employees in a state of heightened anxiety. Yet management's official stance was to treat it as a minor mishap, a lost customer who had wandered off. No counseling was offered to staff, no updates provided to ease their unease. Employees who pressed for answers were met with vague reassurances and subtle hints that their concerns were overblown. Behind closed doors, some staff whispered that the company was more focused on avoiding bad publicity than on the well-being of those who worked there. The psychological toll of this silence was profound, leaving many feeling isolated and vulnerable. The violent outburst in the southern Walmart stirred even more tension. Employees who witnessed the event expected immediate support, security reinforcements, counseling, even a public acknowledgement of the danger they faced. But instead, management's priority was damage control. Staff were urged to move on quickly, to avoid discussing the incident with customers, and to maintain the store's appearance of normalcy. The emphasis was on protecting the brand rather than protecting people. Employees felt betrayed, as if their safety was secondary to corporate optics. This pattern of minimization and denial wasn't limited to these specific incidents. Across stores nationwide, employees shared stories of being discouraged from reporting anything that might cast the company in a bad light. From unexplained noises to unsettling customer behaviors, workers were told to focus on your job and don't make a fuss. The emotional labor of suppressing fear and confusion became a daily burden. Those who did speak out often faced skepticism from colleagues, accusations of exaggeration, or worse, harassment. It was a culture where vulnerability was a liability. The psychological impact was significant. Employees spoke of sleepless nights, anxiety, and a creeping sense of paranoia. The once familiar aisles transformed into corridors of dread, where shadows seemed to lengthen and every noise hinted at unseen threats. Some workers sought solace in each other, forming quiet support networks to share their experiences without judgment. Others withdrew, fearful of drawing attention or doubting their own perceptions. The mental health consequences of this environment were rarely acknowledged, let alone addressed. Adding to the complexity was the disconnect between corporate policies and the lived realities of store workers. While Walmart touted safety protocols and employee wellness programs, many workers found these initiatives superficial or inadequate. The pressure to meet sales targets and maintain efficiency often overshadowed concerns about emotional well-being. Managers, caught between corporate demands and frontline realities, sometimes struggled to provide meaningful support. This gap left employees feeling abandoned by the very system meant to protect them. Some former employees reported that after incidents, they were subtly encouraged to resign or transfer, as if their experiences made them problematic. Whistleblowers who attempted to expose these issues faced retaliation or were dismissed as disgruntled. The fear of losing one's livelihood in an already precarious job market silenced many, perpetuating a cycle of neglect and invisibility. The human cost of this corporate stance remained hidden beneath the surface, masked by the store's bright lights and bustling crowds. The tension between human fear and corporate indifference created a toxic atmosphere. Workers were caught in a bind, expected to perform flawlessly while grappling with unexplained horrors and emotional trauma. The store, designed as a place of commerce and community, became a battleground for psychological survival. Employees who once took pride in their roles found themselves haunted by experiences they couldn't share or process openly. And yet, despite the risks, some employees persevered, determined to protect their co-workers and customers. They devised informal safety measures, buddy systems during night shifts, discreet check-ins, and sharing warnings about suspicious activity. These acts of quiet resistance highlighted the resilience of those working within the system, even as the system itself often failed them. It was a testament to human endurance amid institutional neglect. Meanwhile, the corporate veil remained tightly drawn. Official statements emphasized commitment to safety and employee welfare, but the gap between words and actions was stark. Internal communications often downplayed incidents or framed them as isolated anomalies, avoiding deeper inquiry into systemic issues. This dissonance fueled rumors and distrust among staff, eroding morale and fostering a climate of fear and silence. The experiences of these employees illuminate a broader ethical dilemma: how corporations balance profit and public image against the well-being of their workforce. Walmart's vast scale and influence make its approach to incidents inside its stores a reflection of wider societal attitudes toward retail workers. The stories of fear, neglect, and psychological strain challenge us to consider how much we value those who keep essential services running, often at great personal cost. Tonight, as we peer behind the corporate curtain, we see a world where human vulnerability clashes with institutional priorities. The haunting events inside Walmart stores are compounded by a culture that often dismisses or suppresses the voices of those most affected. This collision leaves scars not only on individuals, but on the very fabric of the workplace. It raises urgent questions about accountability, support, and the unseen costs of maintaining a facade of normalcy. As we continue, we will explore how these individual stories connect to larger patterns and cultural forces, revealing why places like Walmart become crucibles for such unsettling experiences. The tension between human fear and corporate response is not just a Walmart problem. It's a mirror reflecting the complexities of our modern, commodified world. But for now, we hold the stories of those who lived through these encounters, bearing witness to the silent struggles behind the checkout counters and stockroom shelves. As unsettling as these incidents are on their own, their significance deepens when viewed within a broader cultural and psychological context. Walmart is more than just a retail giant. It's a sprawling, impersonal environment that magnifies the stresses and oddities of modern life. Some experts argue that the sheer scale and anonymity of such stores create fertile ground for strange and frightening occurrences. Consider the psychological toll of spending long hours in a massive space illuminated by harsh fluorescent lights, surrounded by endless rows of products and faceless crowds. The environment can distort perception, heightening anxiety and blurring the line between reality and imagination. Employees and shoppers alike are vulnerable to this psychological pressure cooker, which may explain some of the eerie experiences reported. Urban legends and folklore have long surrounded Walmart stores, painting them as places where the mundane and the supernatural collide. Stories of ghostly apparitions, unexplained noises, and bizarre customer behavior have circulated for years, fueled by the store's ubiquitous presence in small towns and cities. Some say these tales reflect deeper societal anxieties about consumerism, isolation, and the erosion of community in an increasingly digital world. Mental health also plays a crucial role in understanding these incidents. The pressures faced by retail workers, low wages, job insecurity, demanding customers, can exacerbate stress and contribute to hallucinations or dissociative episodes. At the same time, customers under similar strains may act unpredictably, as witnessed in the violent outburst captured on security footage. These human factors intersect with the store's environment to create a volatile mix. Then there are the whispers of more mysterious explanations. Some employees and customers have speculated about supernatural or conspiratorial elements linked to large retail chains. Unexplained phenomena, like shadowy figures appearing and disappearing or objects moving without cause, feed into these theories. While often dismissed as paranoia or exaggeration, the persistence of such reports invites a closer look at what might be happening beyond the surface. The architecture and layout of Walmart stores themselves contribute to the unsettling atmosphere. Their massive footprint, labyrinthine aisles, and uniform design can disorient visitors, making it easy to become lost or feel trapped. The stores function as microcosms of society, crowded, chaotic, and anonymous, where individuals can feel both invisible and vulnerable. This dynamic can amplify feelings of isolation and fear, especially during late or overnight shifts. Social isolation is another factor worth exploring. Many employees work long, solitary hours, especially in overnight shifts with few coworkers present. The lack of social interaction and the monotony of repetitive tasks can lead to heightened sensitivity to environmental stimuli. In such states, ordinary sounds or movements might be misinterpreted as threats, fueling stories of hauntings or otherworldly encounters. The cultural significance of Walmart itself cannot be overlooked. As a symbol of consumer culture, It embodies both convenience and control. For some, it represents a loss of individuality amid mass consumption, a place where human connection is sacrificed for efficiency and profit. This tension resonates in the strange events reported, which often involve disruptions to the expected order, disappearances, violent outbursts, and inexplicable phenomena that crack the veneer of normality. Moreover, these incidents reflect broader societal issues surrounding mental health stigma and workplace conditions. The reluctance to acknowledge or address psychological distress within retail environments mirrors wider patterns of neglect and misunderstanding. Employees' fears and experiences are frequently invalidated, leaving them isolated and unsupported. This cultural silence compounds the trauma of the incidents themselves. In examining these strange occurrences, it's essential to consider how rumors and storytelling shape collective perceptions. Tales of Walmart hauntings and odd behaviors spread rapidly through social media and local gossip, sometimes embellishing facts or weaving fiction. These narratives serve as coping mechanisms, helping individuals make sense of unsettling experiences by framing them within familiar motifs of horror and mystery. At the same time, such stories influence employee and customer behavior, creating a feedback loop where expectations of the uncanny can bring about heightened vigilance and anxiety. This dynamic blurs the line between reality and myth, making it difficult to disentangle genuine phenomena from cultural constructs. The shared belief in these tales becomes part of the store's atmosphere, affecting how people perceive and react to their surroundings. This interplay between environment, psychology, and culture suggests that Walmart, as a space, encapsulates many of the challenges and fears of contemporary life. It is a place where individual vulnerability is magnified by structural forces, economic pressures, social isolation, and corporate priorities that shape everyday experiences. The strange incidents reported are not merely isolated anomalies, but symptoms of these deeper tensions. In this light, the stories of shadowy figures, disappearances, and violent outbursts gain additional layers of meaning. They are not just eerie anecdotes, but reflections of the complex human and societal dynamics at work within the vast Walmart ecosystem. Understanding these events requires acknowledging the interplay between personal psychology and the broader cultural context in which they occur. As we continue to delve into these mysteries, we see how Walmart's role as a cultural institution makes it a unique lens through which to explore the intersection of fear, control, and anonymity in modern society. The store becomes a stage for the unfolding drama of human vulnerability, played out against the backdrop of consumerism and corporate power. Tonight, we keep following these threads, uncovering how the strange and unsettling events inside Walmart are tied to larger forces shaping our world. Through this exploration, we begin to glimpse the hidden dimensions of a place many of us think of as ordinary, revealing a reality that is anything but. These chilling stories from inside Walmart serve as a stark reminder that the places we consider safe and mundane can hide unseen dangers lurking beneath their surface. Behind the bright aisles and cheerful advertisements lies a complex reality where employees and customers alike face vulnerabilities that often go unrecognized and unaddressed. The unsettling experiences we've explored reveal the fragile nature of safety in spaces designed for convenience and consumption. The human cost of working and shopping in these vast, impersonal environments is rarely acknowledged. Retail workers spend countless hours navigating not only the physical expanse of the store, but also the emotional and psychological challenges posed by unpredictable events and unsupportive corporate responses. Their stories highlight how corporate culture can sometimes prioritize image and profit over the well-being of those on the front lines, leaving individuals exposed to harm and isolation. This conflict between corporate priorities and human needs raises urgent questions about how society values the people who keep essential services running. The psychological toll described, marked by fear, anxiety, and trauma, is a call to reconsider policies and attitudes that dismiss or minimize employee experiences. It challenges us to foster workplaces where safety is comprehensive, encompassing not just physical security, but mental and emotional health as well. Moreover, The broader cultural context of these incidents underscores the importance of community and connection in counteracting the alienation often felt in large retail environments. When workers and customers feel invisible or unheard, the potential for fear and misunderstanding grows. The stories we've shared emphasize the need for empathy and support systems that recognize the full humanity of those within these commercial spaces. These Walmart horror stories are more than isolated tales of the strange or supernatural. They are reflections of deeper societal issues. They expose cracks in the facade of consumer culture and corporate responsibility, revealing how everyday places can become arenas of psychological struggle and human vulnerability. They invite us to look beyond the surface and acknowledge the complexities faced by individuals navigating these spaces. As we step back from these accounts, the question remains, how can we better protect and support the people at the heart of these experiences? What changes are needed to bridge the gap between corporate image and employee reality? How do we create environments where fear and isolation no longer thrive in silence? These are not easy questions, but they are essential ones. The lessons drawn from the unsettling incidents within Walmart stores call for awareness, compassion, and action. They remind us that behind every checkout line and stock aisle, there are human stories deserving of respect and care. So the next time you enter a Walmart, whether as a shopper or an employee, remember that beneath the fluorescent lights and bustling crowds, there may be unseen struggles and silent fears. Recognize the humanity in those around you, and consider the hidden costs of a retail world that, for all its convenience, can sometimes be a place of profound unease. This is a world where the ordinary can quickly become extraordinary, and where the stories we don't hear can be